The nature of intelligence, as we saw in Chapter 5, is something that's taxed philosophers, scientists, and others for eons. And for good reason, there is no absolute definition of intelligence. It's a term of convenience we use to describe certain traits, characteristics, or behaviors. As a result, it takes on different meanings for different people. Often, and quite tritely, intelligence refers to someone's ability to solve problems and think logically or rationally. So the intelligence quotient is a measure of someone's ability to solve problems that aren't predicated on a high level of learned knowledge. Yet we also talk about social intelligence as the ability to make sense of and navigate social situations, or emotional intelligence, or the intelligence needed to survive and thrive politically. Then there's intelligence that leads to some people being able to make sense of and use different types of information, including mathematical, written, oral, and visual information. On top of this, there are less formalized types of intelligence like shrewdness or business acumen. This lack of an absolute foundation for what intelligence is presents a challenge when talking about artificial intelligence. To get round this, thoughtful AI experts are careful to define what they mean by intelligence. Invariably, this is a form of intelligence that makes sense for AI systems. This is important, as it forms a plausible basis for exploring the emerging benefits and risks of AI systems, but it's a long stretch to extend these pragmatic definitions of intelligence to world domination. One of the more thoughtful AI experts exploring the nature of artificial intelligence is Stuart Russell. Some years ago, Russell recognized that an inability to define intelligence is somewhat problematic if you're setting out to develop an artificial form of intelligence, and so he developed the concept of bounded optimality. To understand this, you first have to understand the tendency amongst people working on AI, at least initially, to assume that there is a cozy relationship between intelligence and rationality. This is a deterministic view of the world that assumes there's a perfectly logical way of understanding and predicting everything, if only you're smart enough to do so. And even though we know from chaos and complexity theory that this can never be, it's amazing how many people veer towards assuming a link between rationality and intelligence, and from there to power. Russell, however, realized that this was a non-starter in a system where it was impossible for a machine to calculate the best course of action, or, in other words, to compute precisely and rationally what it should do. So he came up with the idea of defining intelligence as the ability to assess a situation and make decisions that, on average, will provide the best solutions within a given set of constraints. Russell's work begins to reflect definitions of intelligence that focus on the ability of a person or a machine to deduce how something works or behaves based on the information they collect or are given, their ability to retain and build on this knowledge, and their ability to apply this knowledge to bring about intentional change. In the context of intelligent machines, this is a strong and practical definition. It provides a framework for developing algorithms and machines that are able to develop optimized solutions to challenges within a given set of constraints by observing, deducing, learning, and adapting. But this is a definition of intelligence that is specific to particular types of situations. It can be extended to some notion of general intelligence, or AGI, in that it provides a framework for learning and adaptive machines. But because it is constrained to specific types of machines and specific contexts, it's not a framework for intelligence that supports the emergence of human-threatening superintelligence. This is not to say that this constrained understanding of machine intelligence doesn't lead to potentially dangerous forms of AI. Far from it. It's simply that the AI risks that arise from this definition of intelligence tend to be more concrete than the types of risks that speculation over superintelligence leads to. So, for instance, an intelligent machine that's set the task of optimally solving a particular challenge, creating as many paperclips as possible, for instance, or regulating the Earth's climate, may find solutions that satisfy the boundaries it was given, but that nevertheless lead to unanticipated harm. The classic case here is a machine that works out it can make more paperclips more cheaply by turning everything around it into paperclips. This would be a really smart solution if making more paperclips was the most important thing in the world, and for a poorly constructed AI, it may indeed be. But if the enthusiasm of the AI ends up with it killing people to use the iron in their blood for yet more paperclips, which admittedly is a little far-fetched, we have a problem. Potential risks like these emerge from poorly considered goals, together with human biases in developing artificial systems. But they may also arise as emergent and unanticipated behaviors, meaning that a degree of anticipation and responsiveness in how these technologies are governed is needed to ensure the beneficial development of AI. And while we're unlikely to see Skynet-type AI world domination anytime soon, it's plausible that some of these risks may blindside us, in part because we're not thinking creatively enough about how an AI might threaten what's important to us. This is where, to me, the premise of Ex Machina becomes especially interesting. In the movie, Ava is not a superintelligence, and she doesn't have that much physical agency. Yet she's been designed with an intelligence that enables her to optimize her ability to learn and grow. And this leads to her developing emergent properties. These include her ability to deduce how to manipulate human behavior and how to use this to her advantage. As she grows and matures in her understanding and abilities, Ava presents a bounded risk. There is no indication that she's about to take over the world or that she has any aspirations in this direction, but the risk she presents is nevertheless a deeply disturbing one because she emerges as a machine that not only has the capacity to learn and understand human behaviors, biases, and psychological and social vulnerabilities, but to dispassionately use them against us to reach her goals. This raises a plausible AI risk that is far more worrisome than superintelligence, the ability of future machines to bend us to their own will.